Recognize the honourable leader for the official opposition.
Madam Speaker, this government is projecting a record $1.2 billion deficit. And meanwhile, families are spending $400 more a year on power bills. It's now more expensive to live and commute in Nova Scotia than it is in Toronto. The average Nova Scotian's rent has gone up by nearly $4,400 per year. Half of Nova Scotian workers are being paid less than a living wage, and most of these workers are women. My question is, what do Nova Scotians have to show for this historic deficit?
I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And of course, every single dollar of that deficit is invested in Nova Scotians, supporting Nova Scotians. We're trying to fix the messes that we inherited in healthcare and housing, and we will continue to invest in Nova Scotians, and we won't be shy about it, Madam Speaker. But I would just remind the member that those investments went to healthcare, those investments went to rental subsidies, those investments went into affordable housing, and those investments went into cutting taxes, Madam Speaker. And every time we tried to make one of those steps to support Nova Scotians, the NDP stood up and voted against it, Madam Speaker. We will not give up on Nova Scotians. We will continue to support them despite the objections of the NDP.
I recognize the Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. They also seem to have gone to a number of untendered contracts and handshakes in the Premier's office. According to an RBC poll, Nova Scotians believe that cost of living is the most important issue. Among Atlantic Canadians, almost 75% feel financially paralyzed and are struggling to manage daily costs. 64% say that they are spending all of their income on bills and essentials, and over 60% say they worry they will never get ahead financially. This government can congratulate themselves all they want, but under their watch, Nova Scotians are falling behind. What does the Premier have to say to the hundreds of thousands of Nova Scotians who worry that they will never get ahead?
We're 2 questions in, and it's already coming close to that line. Yeah, I would prefer that it not. Thank you. I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think the NDP know what they talk about with handshake deals, Madam Speaker. Nova Scotians will remember what happened in this province when the NDP was in government. And in case they forget, I'll just say, now boarding. You know, for a party that has so much baggage, Madam Speaker, they were elected on a promise, the NDP, that one time, of no new taxes. What's the first thing they did, Madam Speaker? Increase taxes, Madam Speaker. Then they got cozy with Nova Scotia Power, traveled around on the private jets with Nova Scotia Power, Madam Speaker. We will stand up for Nova Scotians, and Nova Scotians know that, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Sounds like the Premier's getting close too. Listen, if we want to talk about campaign promises, let's talk about order-making powers for the Information and Privacy Commissioner and protecting Nova Scotians. Let's talk about reinstating school boards. Nova Scotia has the highest poverty rate in the country. There hasn't been a poverty reduction strategy since 2009. The number of Nova Scotians living in poverty has increased by 59% since this government was elected. With spending at record levels, people are falling further behind. Madam Speaker, my question to the Premier is, what is the plan to help the increasing number of Nova Scotians living in and falling into poverty?
I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we know Nova Scotians are struggling. That's why we're doing all we can to support them. That's how we have a deficit, Madam Speaker. We'll continue to support Nova Scotians. It's also why we instituted a school lunch program, Madam Speaker. That lunch program has delivered over 4 million lunches at this stage, I think, Madam Speaker. Guess who voted against it, Madam Speaker? The NDP. Madam Speaker, I'll remind, if we want to talk about election promises, Madam Speaker, I'll remind the member that we were the only party that talked about raising the minimum wage during an election campaign, Madam Speaker. The only party that stands up for Nova Scotians, that's the PC party. They can try to claim that mantle, but actions matter, Madam Speaker, and I'm proud of our actions.